ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another weird edition of What Really Matters NYC. Here at the heart of Manhattan, atop the Empire State Building. Anyway, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our show. We always have something new and interesting here at What Really Matters NYC, live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. because we've moved to new studios, new temporary studios. And today we're going to hit a topic that before the winter and the fall and the summer of last year get away from us completely, because everybody knows today is spring, the first day of spring. We wanted to talk to a special guest, and we're going to see if his phone line works. Charles, are you there?
I am indeed, Tony.
Excellent. It's great to hear from you, Charles. And I want to introduce Charles very quickly now. Charles is an independent writer now, but before he was at Time magazine, and during his last 13 years as an editor, he directed Time's award-winning environmental coverage, including the 1989 Planet of the Year report, the Earth Day 2000 special edition, and the 2001 Global Warming cover. I mean, he did a cover of Time magazine, and he's won all sorts of awards. I'm not going to go into them, but I wanted to talk to Charles because he lives here in New York, and he's very familiar with our city, and he's an expert on climate. And there's been so much going on that since today is the first day of spring, I wanted to remind everybody that what happened in 2012, and the numbers are in. In fact, the year of a surreal March heat wave. Remember that heat wave last year? We had a severe drought in the Corn Belt and a huge storm that caused broad devastation in the Middle Atlantic states. Remember all those fires in Colorado? In fact, it was so hot. How hot was it? The temperature differences between years are usually measured in fractions of a degree, but last year's 55.3 degree average demolished the previous record set in 1998 by a full degree Fahrenheit. So I won't go into all these things, but I wanted to ask Charles, since he's an expert, and since we're such a fragile island, remember when we had Sandy? Remember we all had to worry about Zone A, the flooding, and then we had Zone B, and we all had to kind of move around and all that devastation. Well, this isn't going to go away. This is going to get worse, I think. So I wanted to ask Charles what his impression was about climate, global warming, and what's in store for us. So welcome, Charles. And I guess that's the first question. Is this going to continue?
I'm afraid so. It's inevitable, Tony. We're in a very vulnerable spot here, right on the ocean. There are a lot of low-lying areas. And even though the governor and the mayor say they're very concerned about it, we still have tremendous development going up along the shore in Brooklyn and other places. So I think we're setting ourselves up for an increasingly difficult time. What we don't know is how often storms like Sandy will hit and how fast this is going to come on. We know the seas are going to rise. We just don't know how fast it's going to be. But if I were your viewers, I wouldn't be buying any real estate right on the shoreline, I can tell you that.
Well, that's the question, is, because the politicians, they make all these proposals about sandbagging the subway stops and putting balloons in the entrances and building maybe some big gates out by the Liberty statue, etc. And I think we even had a guest from a real estate institute who said, really what we need to do is move the generators out of the basements and move the fuse boxes upstairs and sort of get used to being a Venice out here. And I just don't think that's the right approach. So my question is what should we be doing? Should we really be moving away from the city? Should we be moving inland? And also the bigger question, now that India and China are coming on board and going to burn all these fuels, and even though President Bush didn't sign the Kyoto Accord, the world, it doesn't seem like we're going to stop. It just seems like it's going to get worse. Is that true?
Yeah, I agree with you, Tony. I think we can build seawalls, we can take various measures, we can move back from the shoreline, but it's not going to stop. So it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. It's just a matter of personal preference. I mean, my family is acutely aware of global warming because I've been writing about it for 2 decades. But they all love New York. They're doing stuff here, so they're going to stay as long as it's possible stay, and I think that's what most people will do, and we'll just be fighting a never-ending battle with it. I think obviously, if we could reduce our carbon emissions, we can slow it down a lot. So you really need to yell at your representatives, yell at the White House not to approve this Keystone XL pipeline coming down that they want to build down from Canada to bring oil from the dirtiest oil fields in Canada down to this country. That's sort of the hot button environmental issue at the moment, and President Obama is trying to decide whether to approve this thing. They're trying to build a pipeline through this country because a lot of Canadians don't want it going through their country to the east or west, so they're trying to send it south. So, you can speak up if you want against the Keystone XL pipeline, which is really a bad idea. It will just encourage more production of dirtier oil.
But the things we can't control, maybe we can control that a little bit. And then I want to talk just for a second about, it seems in such a big world, New York seems so small in terms of, if I put I recycle my bottles and I try to put some grass on the roof of my house and grow some green stuff around the building. I mean, in the end, though, China and India are going to burn the world up, aren't they? And it's inevitable that this trend will continue.
Well, China is a big problem. They're actually doing more about this than we are, in the sense that they've become the biggest producer of solar panels. The problem with China, it's so big, is that even though they're building nuclear plants, which don't contribute to global warming, which is a good thing, and they're bringing on solar power as fast as they can, they're growing so fast they're also increasing their coal. So, but China has been changing and could change, because the pollution is getting really bad in China, and eventually they're going to wake up and realize they've got to cut back on the coal. So, I'm not giving up hope totally. I mean, if we switch over to clean fuels, we can slow down climate change. We can't stop it all together, but I agree with you, Tony, that it's a pretty bleak situation. I wouldn't invest a lot in New York real estate or any real estate along any coastline, because the oceans are going to rise. And if you're worried about this, you might want to investigate the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee or some high ground. But it's sort of the American way these days to, let's worry about this problem when it really gets here. Yeah, but we're all sort of living for today, I'm afraid.
On this one, Charles, we can't wait. I mean, it seems to me that inevitably, you know how the dinosaurs become extinct and all that stuff? We're going to extinct ourselves, because we're all going to get so hot. The air conditioners are going to burn up so much fuel to make us even hotter. We're just going to die in a room with an open refrigerator door, so to speak. And are we going to really, looking out 1,000 years from now, if this trend continues, isn't that what's going to happen?
Yeah, I sort of agree with you. I think we seem to be going extinct a lot faster than the dinosaurs. And really, when you think about it, it's kind of sad. I mean, the human beings have been on this planet for a couple of million years. We've had kind of agriculture for about 11,000 years. We've had modern civilization for, the last century or so, couple of centuries since the Industrial Revolution. And all of a sudden, in one generation, we are kind of destroying it all. Our generation, particularly my baby boom generation, has sort of done this. We didn't really understand what we were doing until recently, but it's kind of sad. That's what we're doing. And so I think we owe it to our children and grandchildren to really take dramatic action to change the situation. But of course, we have we have one major political party, the Republicans. Many of them don't even think the problem exists. They've been convinced by the oil industry that it's all a hoax. So it remains a major problem. Listen, I'd like to make a suggestion to your viewers that there are a couple of movies they can see about this if our discussion is piquing their interest. There's a movie called Chasing Ice, in which this great filmmaker actually went around to the glaciers over a period of years, set up cameras at great personal risk to himself, and has actually documented on film the glaciers melting, all this ice that's melting from the glaciers and flowing into the oceans. That's a terrific movie. It's really only playing in one movie theater that I know of, Indie Screen in Williamsburg. They don't play it every night, but they play it occasionally. I think the next night they're playing it is Sunday night. There's another movie that was just out, but seems to be closing tomorrow, and has the provocative name of Greedy Lying Bastards. It's a movie that focuses on ExxonMobil and the Koch brothers and others who've been financing 2 decades of misinformation to make people think that global warming is not a problem. Okay. That's playing at the Village East Cinema. I think that's going to be over tomorrow, but maybe a DVD will be coming out. I would recommend that movie. There's a great book out. You're worried about the future. There's a great book out about that called Storms of My Grandchildren by James Hansen that I would recommend to anyone who wants to get serious about this and see what lies ahead. But, Tony, I appreciate the fact that you're really looking at this in the true apocalyptic terms that it deserves, which you very seldom see on the media.
Well, I remember.
Global warming. Yeah. The media talks about global warming like it's going to be, a nice trip to a sauna or something. That it's not going to be that bad.
No,
and it's really, if we don't do something about it, it really will be the end of civilization as we know it. And that's not just me saying that. That was in the New Yorker. Many experts have talked about it in these terms, but you don't hear it talked about like that on the major media, only by people like yourself who are not afraid to tell it like it is.
Yeah, I am major media though. But Charles, listen, I was piqued because the CNN, they came out with this spike that they said that the heat spike that we just mentioned was the largest in 11,300 years, and they called it epic. So yeah, folks, Charles, we're going to let you go. I just really kind of want to make everyone sit up and take note of this topic. Chasing Ice, everyone should check out that movie for sure. And Charles, we'll have you back hopefully in another 1,000 years if they figure a way to keep us alive, and we'll hopefully be here with a solution. But I guess the ultimate answer is, and wrap up for 30 seconds here, it's leadership, right? Did you see any leaders out there who might be able to grab this and lead it on a worldwide basis?
Well, if Obama turns down the Keystone XL pipeline, that's leadership. That's the guy we elected. If he doesn't, if he approves the pipeline, then he's not who he claimed to be. He's not a leader.
Charles, as always, I want to thank you for joining us, all right? We really appreciate your time and your insights and your intellect and your expertise on this subject. So thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tony.
Yeah, cheers, Charles. Take care.